Yes, he is, on cue, and there he goes, spinning him out here. He had an open area on La Tierra, not a lot of traffic, but he's not gonna stop. He's gonna keep going. This guy is running. Wow, that was a successful pit maneuver, but he's continuing on, and now he's picking up speeds. But for the most part, the LAPD and other agencies try to use that 35-mile-an-hour threshold. Speeds below 35 miles an hour, they try the pit. Obviously, they look at other vehicular traffic to make sure that nobody would be in immediate danger. Crossing over Manchester, southbound on La Tierra, heading towards the Westchester area and into that very busy LAX complex, where they will encounter, this pursuit will, a tremendous amount of traffic. Is going to be making a bend here on the right, and you know this also well. If you take La Tierra, it's going to merge here with Sepulveda right after this little bend, and we'll see what this suspect decides to do. As you guys indicated, this suspect initially was trying to make his or her way, still no confirmation on the gender of the suspect, towards LAX to perhaps lose the officers with all that traffic. And let's see what he does now. He's going through the intersection. Looks like he's got a green light, but he is going to continue now in a westbound direction. So he's not making that left turn onto Sepulveda to make his way towards LAX, at least not from this point. So we'll see what he does here. He's coming up on an area again. Not a whole lot of traffic. It looks like there may be another opportunity here for another pit maneuver. Looking up ahead, heading towards Westchester Parkway. Let's see what happens here. He's going. He's not. He's not. Let's see if this lead officer, veers a bit to the right and tries to spin him out. The pursuit was successful in not terminating the pursuit, but it certainly spun him out. But his car wasn't disabled. He still wasn't blocked in, so he was able to make a 180 and continue on his way. And he's continuing now. He's going to make that bend now down towards Lincoln, it looks like. It looks like he's going to try another. Here he goes again. Another open area, spins him out. You could see that badly damaged windshield, too, almost hitting the curb. Let's see if this officer tries to ram him. They really want to bring this to an end. They know that this guy has already struck and likely injured or badly injured an individual, a pedestrian possibly, or somebody on one of those scooters. Yeah, I had indicated that not only the front windshield was badly damaged, but also in the back, and that could have been from that impact, meaning that individual who was struck near or at the intersection of Manchester and Pershing during this pursuit in the Playa del Rey area likely went up and over the vehicle. Again, the condition of that individual unknown at this time. That occurred during the pursuit. Yes, now a hit and run felony suspect in addition to all of the other laws that he's breaking on the road. He's going to try it again. He's got a wide open area here. Let's see. This is number 3. Let's see if it's third time's the charm here. He's pulling up on the side here. Bam! Yes, and he spins him out. Okay, now let's see. This is a very dangerous situation. Now he just rammed the vehicle. Very dangerous situation. And look at this. He's backing up, and he's continuing on. They had him. Guns were pulled out. Bad damage to the front and back end of that vehicle now. And he's going to continue on his way. Wow. Third pit. I've never seen multiple pits like this and the vehicle to continue on. No, I believe I've seen 2 one other time, and this is 3 now that we've seen. 3 pit maneuvers, successful in that they spun him out, but unsuccessful in that the vehicle wasn't damaged enough or blocked in that they can continue on. Here he goes. Now they're going to try on the other side. Bam. There he goes against traffic on the other side. Wow, this guy is just relentless, and he is going to continue to go. Block him in. No. A lot of these situations where pedestrians have been struck, and this does look like a vehicle that did hit somebody. And he's been hit multiple times by LAPD units, and now he's really picking up speed. Yeah, no question. He's really moving now. He's going to be making the right bend. This is that parkway that you see when you're on the far north side of LAX. He's going to be coming up on the In-N-Out Burger and has the choice to make a right turn here, right by the In-N-Out, to head to down Sepulveda towards Century, towards the LAX complex, and into the tunnel, or perhaps on either the arrival or the departure level. And he is just flying. And officers know that this guy is a really, yeah. And he knows he's in trouble. And he always has, but now he's much more agitated here. And let's see what he does. People in a crosswalk here. It looks like there's an area. Oh, that's that traffic watch that's set up right at the entrance of the airport to guide traffic. And he is making his way southbound now on Sepulveda. So now he's going to be heading towards LAX. Let's see what he does here. And that's the area right there where people set up at the park by the In-N-Out. And he's making a 180 again now. So let's see what he does here. Four pit maneuvers, unbelievable damage to the front and back. And of course his visibility's got to be diminished as well with that damage to the windshield, likely caused by striking either a pedestrian or somebody on one of those scooters here. All right, so now he's making his way back towards the exact same location we saw that fourth pit maneuver. An LAPD helicopter circling low overhead, a number of units. We believe Culver City's still involved. They were the lead agency because that's where the pursuit started. Again, unconfirmed reports. Looks to be a male. Unclear if there's anybody else inside that older model maroon Honda. But we did get confirmation that somebody was struck either on the street near Manchester and Pershing and Playa del Rey. That happened during the pursuit. The pursuit started in Culver City. And we have unconfirmed reports that it started because this individual is an assault with a deadly weapon suspect. All right, now he's making his way down Lincoln, away from the airport, towards Westchester, down towards LMU, and into the Marina del Rey and Playa del Rey areas, where this pursuit has already been. He's got cross traffic there. That was close. That was a real close call there. So now when we first started tracking this, Marla and Vanessa, he was really obeying the traffic lights. He was slowing down. It was a relatively slower speed chase compared to some that we cover, but now he's ripping through red lights. He's picking up speed, obviously very agitated. He could be armed. Again, an assault with a deadly weapon suspect. What that weapon was, when that incident took place, that's unknown at this time. All we know is that he did strike an individual near the intersection of Pershing and Manchester in Playa del Rey at some point during the pursuit after it had started in Culver City. Culver City, the lead agency, LAPD on it. LAPD, they were the ones attempting those pit maneuvers, all four of them successfully spinning them out but not bringing the pursuit to an end. Again, northbound on Lincoln here, heading towards the campus of LMU. This is where you make your way down that hill towards the campus of LMU. It looks like possibly the back left wheel may be disabled in some way. We'll push in. Yeah, you may be right there. It looks like it is gone. Now that may have happened because it was compromised already because of that strike, that individual who was struck, and with the force of those pit maneuvers, that could have easily jarred it. We didn't see any gunfire. Those officers were raising their weapons. They rammed, this suspect rammed one of the vehicles. I mean, that's a deadly force right there. So this guy is very dangerous. They're tracking him now down into Silicon Beach, that area here, this area that's very popular to Southern California by the LMU campus on Lincoln, northbound on Lincoln here. A busy intersection. He doesn't have the light. Let's see if he makes a left turn. This is the area very close to where that individual was struck. So he's staying in that same area. This does happen a lot when you're familiar with the neighborhood. That's exactly right. So we'll see if that's the case. But at the same time, we were hearing that he wanted to go to LAX to try to evade the police there because of all the traffic. He had an opportunity, at least one from our vantage point. He chose not to. So now he's back essentially doing a circle from where he was before. A pursuit. Go ahead, Martha. I had just indicated that, yeah, when he was coming down Sepulveda, that his visibility, not only the front, but now the back. Well, I guess the back now is busted open, so we can see out the back. But that was a hard impact if indeed that wind chill damage was the result of that individual being struck close to this location. We're on Jefferson now, heading eastbound on Jefferson. That would take this individual, this assault with a deadly weapon suspect, and that's how this pursuit started, in the Culver City city limits, back into Culver City. Units have backed off a bit, it looks like. Let's widen out. There's a few there, but they're not as close as they were earlier. And I see a wide open Jefferson here, so there may be another opportunity, a fifth opportunity to try to spin this suspect out. They're tracking him on the ground and in the air. Went through the red light there, and again, technically these officers can write up these suspects for every single vehicular violation. Obviously, a suspect, a hit-and-run suspect now, if those reports are confirmed about that individual being struck. The way the vehicle looks, it looks very much like a car, and I've covered a lot of auto versus ped incidents, and it looks like a vehicle that did strike an individual with that hard front windshield damage and even some damage in the back. We believe that the pit maneuver itself, one of the pit maneuvers, one of the more recent ones of the four, actually probably compromised that back windshield so that it just came out altogether. Through the intersection, has a green light, heading eastbound on Jefferson, back towards Culver City, the Fox Hills area, back towards the 405 freeway. As far as we know, it does not appear that this pursuit has been on any of the freeways yet. If it were to enter the 405 freeway, the northbound, I could see up ahead is just jammed. Look again, Marla Vanessa, you can see that back left wheel. Definitely compromised, and likely by one of those hard hits by the LAPD. Again, a speed of 35 miles an hour or less, they can try one of those pit maneuvers. You can see the back windshield gone, the front windshield damage as well. The tinted windows, looks like the driver, the suspect, has that front window rolled down as well, possibly to help with visibility. Exactly, that may definitely be the reason for that. From our vantage points of watching this, although the windows are tinted, we're not hearing of any other suspects inside the vehicle, just the driver itself. A badly damaged older model maroon Honda here being pursued, heading towards Fox Hills and Culver City, eastbound on Jefferson, now approaching the 405 freeway. You can see the back end damage, the bumper damage, that left wobbly wheel. Off and on. The majority of them he slows. There's been a couple that he's ripped through. It looks like he's starting to essentially take on that slower posture as he did when we first started covering this pursuit. Looks like he's going up possibly the 90 freeway. If we could pedal right just a little bit. Just past Slauson, and it looks like he can get on the 90 freeway eastbound here. This is the shortest freeway in all of Southern California, starting in the Fox Hills area, ending in Marina Del Rey. It essentially is the 105 that never became the 105 freeway here. So this freeway will come to an end unless he decides to get on the 405 freeway here, and it looks like that's what he's done here. This is that convoluted ramp where the 90 meets the 405. He is now on the 405 freeway from that 90 connector and now heading southbound on the 405 freeway. Just as I had mentioned, that northbound side, if you got on that, that's the busy side from the top to the bottom of your monitor there. The southbound side, much lighter, heading out of Fox Hills towards Inglewood and into the LAX area. So now a different ball game. The vehicle. That's right. He could be compromised in terms of his speed because of that damage that has been sustained to the vehicle as a result of those 4 pit maneuvers. Obviously, the visibility diminished with that front windshield completely out. So now heading south on the... Yeah, that's exactly right. 4 units, the helicopter circling overhead. But what's going to happen now for all of us as this pursuit makes its way south is it's going to head into LAX airspace. So even those LAPD helicopters have some limit there. Look at this. He's slowing down so much. Yeah, I would have thought he wanted to stay on Sepulveda and maybe lose himself on the lower arrival level at LAX. That's what's busy. That's where you can perhaps ditch a vehicle and get away into the heavy foot traffic at LAX. But that didn't happen, so he continued on his way. This stretch of the 405, though, I mean, it's going to be a bit to the west of, or east, I should say, of LAX. And it looks like if we widen out, let's see if they're trying to hold some traffic back, almost run a little bit of a break. Not quite. It looks like there's still vehicles making their way down the carpool lane. Because if they were able to do that, hold that southbound traffic, and then all that traffic up ahead was to get way ahead of this, then they would have an opportunity to pit him again on the freeway. But in most cases, it's just way too dangerous for a pit maneuver to occur on a busy stretch of the 405. It doesn't look. Nope. Right now, it looks wide open until, because I take this stretch home, until you get just past the 105. Sometimes it loads up around Rosecrans. It still is a holiday for some. There's still a lot of schools out, so volume has been light the last couple of days, even though we've passed the New Year's holiday. So we're going to see now what we're going to do with the airspace here at LAX as this pursuit continues southbound. We're going to do we're going to have to do a midfield cross here, Elijah, to get onto the other side here, Sepulveda cross. Essentially, what we do is we climb up to 2,500 feet in the center of LAX, right down Sepulveda, if you think of the tunnel there, and we climb over all 4 runways, 2-4 left and right, 2-5 left and right, so that all of the incoming and outgoing traffic at LAX, we're not impacted by them, and they're not impacted by our high altitude right in the middle of the airport here. Southbound 405. .405 freeway southbound, very close to the Century Boulevard off-ramp, the off-ramp you take to get to the airport. We're making that crossover to the LAX airspace now so we can get on the south side of the complex. It's possible that this suspect may make his way, again, not any confirmation if it is a male, but it appeared it was from our vantage point, to the 105 east or west. Very light traffic. A lot of that is because the officers trailing this older model maroon Honda have sort of held traffic back, almost conducted a bit of a traffic break to help out. And this is a situation, like I had mentioned, Vanessa and Marley, if they get up behind him and he's going at a slow enough rate and there isn't any vehicular traffic ahead of him, which we don't see much of right now, all of that traffic has made its way 65, 75 miles an hour plus southbound past the 105, they may try yet another pit maneuver here. It's possible. We'll see. The car has definitely been compromised. It hasn't been moving at a high rate of speed. He has a wide open freeway. If that vehicle was in good shape, if he had good visibility out of that damaged front windshield, if that windshield wasn't damaged, he could be ripping down this stretch of the 405, 75, 85 plus miles an hour. All right, 105, coming up on the 105 here. Again, the speed is paramount. So on most pursuits, if they have entered a freeway, they're usually going over 35 miles an hour, unless they're weaving in and out of traffic. And if that's the case, you can't do one there. You can't do one if he's going 75 or 80 miles an hour. Again, LAPD has the 35 mile an hour threshold for pursuits with pit maneuvers. All right, now he's coming up. Yeah, just a bit. Yeah, and that's And that's what I just speculated. I just speculated that the southbound traffic was going to be held so that they could have a clear open shot of this suspect and possibly try another pit maneuver. So we'll see what happens. He does have an open stretch of the 405, but it looks like this pursuit will probably start to encounter some volume, some southbound 405 volume now. We're past the 105, heading towards Hawthorne. We're going to be heading down towards the South Bay Curve, as we call it, that stretch of the 405 that makes that big bend coming up from the 110 freeway towards the beach cities, and definitely more traffic there. Still a LAPD unit helicopter that has met up with this pursuit again, having to cross through the LAX airspace as we did. We're now on the south side of the airport, and this is the southbound side of the 405 coming up on the Rosecrans Avenue off-ramp, which would be in towards Beach City, Manhattan Beach, my apologies, just passing Hawthorne. And then if you wanted to continue on, I can see the 405 outside of Skybox here, all the way down towards the 110 freeway. Definitely heavier volume than what we're seeing now, but no big delays. No big delays on the South 405. The California Highway Patrol, for sure, now that it is on the 405 freeway, they've been notified, and they will help out in closing ramps when possible ahead of this to keep traffic off. This is a very dangerous individual, likely a very dangerous, being that it's an assault with a deadly weapon suspect. This individual, we're hearing, has already struck either a pedestrian or somebody on a scooter, likely badly injuring them by the looks of the vehicle, if that damage to the windshield and the back windshield back glass was the result of that impact. Several pit maneuvers were conducted. They spun this guy out, although they weren't successful in ending the pursuit. South 405 here now we're into Manhattan Beach, well south of the 405, Marla and Vanessa, heading southbound on the 405. Okay, and that makes things even more trying for officers. When you have a situation like that, it's unclear if the suspect is armed, if that assault with a deadly weapon took place this morning, and this pursuit happened this morning. We're now into almost an hour that this pursuit has been going on. First starting in Culver City being the lead agency, and this pursuit was initiated by the Culver City Police Department because of the suspect being wanted in an assault with a deadly weapon incident. Where that occurred, we're not sure, but you could see from our vantage point now as he continues south on the 405, officers have pulled way back. Let's see what agency. That's still LAPD, it looks like. LAPD is still the lead here. For safety, maybe they are getting some intel perhaps on those phone calls from relatives. They want to keep traffic, southbound traffic back. Perhaps make this guy less agitated. If that's the case. We've seen a lot of agitation in his driving after those pit maneuvers, but now, he's been driving since he was able to get away from those. A little bit more easy, if you could say that. Not pulling over, obviously, like he should, but definitely slowing down. Part of that to reduce speed may be the result of the vehicle being so damaged from those pit maneuvers and from possibly striking and injuring an individual. That occurred back in Playa del Rey when this pursuit just started near the intersection of Manchester and Pershing. Southbound side of the 405, approaching Inglewood Avenue. Yeah, that's a tough situation, and we've covered a lot of incidents, and not only pursuits, but other incidents as well, with vets coming back and having those types of issues and turning into a situation with law enforcement. So that information obviously. Yeah, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, that the CHP was going to probably take over here once he did enter the freeway. And if he exits the freeway, say in Hermosa Beach, down towards Redondo into Torrance, he's going to be making his way into that area, then the Torrance Police Department would pick up as well. Sometimes during pursuits, you see those lead agencies track him all the way, he or she in these pursuits, well across city boundaries into other communities as well. We had one down in the South Bay recently where the pursuit was initiated in Redondo Beach, and it went well outside the city, but it was the Redondo Beach Police Department that actually brought that pursuit to an end. You can see there that vehicles are pulling off to the right, and this is a good time to remind everybody, if you encounter something like this down the freeway, all of a sudden in your rear view mirror, you see a bunch of officers, lights and sirens, tracking somebody. Never ever try to be a hero. Pull over to the right, give these officers plenty of space. You just don't know what you're dealing with. And these officers, the CHP, the LAPD, they all are aware of that information that we're passing on to the public that we're hearing about, possibly the mental state of this driver. All of that comes into play in how they will handle it. And every situation is different. You just don't know with the condition of this individual being pursued for an assault with a deadly weapon, a serious crime, having struck and already possibly badly injuring somebody on a scooter or perhaps on foot at Pershing in Manchester, in Playa del Rey after this pursuit started. You just don't know what you're going to deal with. And this guy has been running, rampant, especially those pit maneuvers, being able to evade officers. Almost to Torrance now on the southbound side of the 405 here, coming down towards the 110. We'll check the off-ramps here. Coming up on Crenshaw, which would make it Torrance, and then the Harbor Gateway area. If he continued south on the 405, he could make his way onto the 110, either north or southbound side on the 110 Harbor Freeway, past the Goodyear plant if he decided to stay on the South 405. I see wide open traffic, definitely lighter than a typical Thursday afternoon. That's right, but unfortunately one individual already, and you think of the kids who are out of school, so they could be, vulnerable in that they're out rolling around on their bikes, their skateboards. We don't have any information on the individual on the scooter. We're hearing it was a scooter, possibly a foot pedestrian that was struck and possibly injured badly. And it does seem like we're learning more about the suspect as we're hearing unconfirmed reports that possibly family members are contacting law enforcement to let them know that they know this individual and what he possibly is suffering from coming back from a war-torn area after serving our country. All of that has not been confirmed yet. All we know is that this is a very badly damaged older model Honda being pursued by the Los Angeles Police Department, by Culver City Police Department, the agency that initiated the pursuit, and soon, if not already, by the California Highway Patrol on the South 405, now approaching, still in Torrance now, approaching the 110 freeway, and then it will enter that Harbor Gateway area, that narrow stretch of the city of Los Angeles that comes out of South LA and makes its way all the way down into the San Pedro area. Let's see what he does here. He could make his way north or south on the 110 freeway, but it looks like he's staying off of that transition road, and he's going to stay the course southbound on the 405, which would take him down towards the Carson and Wilmington areas, and then down towards Long Beach. Next major freeway would be the 710 freeway. Off to his left on the north side of the 405, you have the Goodyear Blimp plant. Off to the right, you have the Porsche Experience location there. And there, coming into frame, an LAPD helicopter still circling, watching this all from overhead. That's right. And again, as I had just mentioned a short time ago, another reminder, if you do ever encounter, there's a CHP unit getting on a ramp there. There we go. And it looks like there's another unit. So CHP has definitely joined the party here on the southbound side of the 405 freeway here. But a bit more traffic up ahead, but still very light. So the volume is incredibly light coming southbound away from the 110 Harbor Freeway down towards Wilmington and the 710 as we widen out. There is that Porsche Experience there. You see the vehicles down below. Off on the left side of your monitor is the the Goodyear Blimp facility, just to familiarize you all with the location we're traveling. South on the 405 freeway, down towards Wilmington now, and the 710 freeway. So this pursuit, Vanessa and Marla, has been going on a better part of an hour, perhaps more. So you start to think about how much gasoline this vehicle had when the pursuit was started. If it had a full tank, it's good to go for a while. If it was getting a bit low, then fuel could become an issue. The damage to the car, definitely an issue. We've seen at least the back left wheel wobbling a bit. That could be compromised in such a way that eventually it could disable the vehicle altogether. Okay, you can see this HP unit getting a little closer here. The SUV tracking in one of the middle lanes here on the southbound side of the 405, approaching the Avalon Boulevard off-ramp, putting it in Carson. Next to community would be Wilmington, and then towards Long Beach and the 710 freeway. Failure to yield, and that's how a lot of them start. That's exactly right. And they did track the license plate, as you guys indicated, and found the vehicle's registration is current. A couple of outstanding parking violations, and that's it. But is this suspect actually connected to this vehicle? That we don't know at this time. It may not be registered in that suspect's name. So that information we'll still try to ascertain. Now, units have pulled back a little bit, but they're slowing traffic as they have down this entire stretch of the 405. Two CHP units they're tracking. Let's wind out and pan the camera just to the left a little bit, and I'll show you how units trailing here are holding the traffic back just to help out with officers to give them a little bit more space. There's a CHP motor officer meandering around. We'll go back to the pursuit here. This will give officers a little more leverage, perhaps a little cushion of space, keeping people out of harm's way. Maybe if there's a chance, as you can see, now we have a wide open southbound 405 freeway of yet another pit maneuver. Just a couple vehicles ahead. The north and southbound sides obviously separated by that K-wall, that concrete barrier. The northbound side is the side coming towards us here. Southbound side going away. There's the Wilmington Avenue off-ramp approaching the 710 freeway in the community of Wilmington, having just left Carson, heading now down towards Long Beach. So we'll see if they actually try that again. And that lead vehicle there is communicating with the captains, his upper brass, to see how they want to handle this. They are getting as much information on the suspect as possible. They know what happened already along this pursuit that's lasted over an hour, that unconfirmed reports that an individual near the or at the intersection of Manchester and Pershing in the Playa del Rey area was struck. And by the looks of the vehicle, if that damage to the front windshield and the back was caused by that impact, that individual is likely badly injured. Again, we're still trying to get information on that. Pursuit starting in Culver City. That incident involving the person who was struck occurred in Playa del Rey. This pursuit made its way primarily on surface streets, Culver City, Playa del Rey, Inglewood, towards the Westchester area, north of LAX, and then he decided finally to hop on the South 405, passing LAX, going through the beach cities, down towards the 110 freeway. Carson, Wilmington, now approaching the 710 freeway on the South 405 approaching Long Beach and Long Beach Airport. A wide open freeway, partially because those units behind what you're seeing here have been able to hold traffic to slow traffic, but now we're getting into a little busier area, and this is where we're going to see a lot of big rig traffic. That north and southbound 710 always loaded with tractor trailers bringing goods to and from the Long Beach and LA harbors. And there you go on cue into frame. You can see some of those big rigs there. So we'll see what happens here. And if this individual is dealing with mental illness, and these officers know that, they are going to have to handle this in such a way. First and foremost, they don't want any innocent bystanders to be injured or tragically killed, which we have seen here in Southern California. That is their first goal. Their second goal is to bring this pursuit to an end without any officers or the suspect being injured, taking we believe it's a male being pursued here, into custody. On the southbound side of the 405, having just crossed over the LA River, passing the 710. He's staying the course on the South 405, now into the community of Long Beach, approaching Long Beach Boulevard. Very slow speed. He's down, possibly down to that 35-mile-an-hour threshold. They have plenty of cushion up ahead. You can see the nearest vehicle to the south of this pursuit, maybe a quarter of a mile away, not quite that. So now they do have those options to try to spin him out here on the southbound side of the 405 freeway here. That's exactly right. They do not want anybody else being injured. They had those opportunities where they had wide open surface streets, and they successfully did those multiple pit maneuvers, but it wasn't successful in terminating the pursuit. Unfortunately, they just, these vehicles, when they spin out, you just don't know which way they're going to be facing, and if there's another officer blocking the suspect's vehicle in, and that just wasn't the case here. And this suspect was able to get away from all four of those pit maneuvers, something I've never seen in all the pursuits that I've covered from up here in Skyfox. Southbound side on the 405 approaching Cherry Avenue down towards Long Beach Airport in Long Beach. This pursuit continues well over an hour, now going on about an hour and 15 minutes, we believe, having first started in Culver City. We've seen it happen in the past that the suspect's vehicle just all of a sudden comes to a slow stop, and we hear afterwards that they just ran out of gas. If you start off with a low tank level, then this pursuit won't go that long. But if he has a full tank, it's going to go and go for several hours in some cases, and we've seen that as well. And what we're seeing up here is the southbound side of the 405, traffic being held back a bit, but not the ramps. The on and off ramps here are still open, so vehicular traffic can still enter the South 405, but still very light conditions as this pursuit makes its way southbound down now towards Long Beach Airport. Again, having started in Culver City, mostly on surface streets, through the Playa del Rey area, Inglewood, over towards Westchester, north of LAX, and then finally the suspect in this older model maroon Honda decided to get on that 90-405 interchange, and he made his way south on the 405 freeway, passing LAX, passing the 105 freeway through the beach cities, the South Bay curve. You saw an individual up on the overpass there filming this as this pursuit went southbound underneath that overpass, and we'll be coming up now on Lakewood Boulevard. So, yeah. We're on the 405 freeway southbound, still in Long Beach, just having passed the Long Beach Airport, passing Lakewood Boulevard. Now heading a bit farther south down towards the campus of Cal State Long Beach. The next freeway, 605 north, would be an option for this suspect, but light volume all the way to the south. I can see down towards Orange County. Yes, if this pursuit makes its way a couple miles farther south, we're going to be talking about it having crossed through 2 different counties, initially just starting out in a couple of communities doing circles, but once this pursuit entered the 405, it was on, and southbound side of the 405, the entire stretch from the Fox Hills area down to this point in Long Beach, heading towards Los Alamitos, then into Seal Beach, unless the suspect decides to make that transition onto the 605. We'll see what happens there. A badly damaged vehicle, but it looks like he's able to pick up a little bit of speed, probably going about 55 miles an hour now. You can see he's passing some other traffic, but that traffic is slowing because it sees what's coming up from behind them. And the CHP has done a really great job at holding a majority of that traffic. There's 3 units there. LAPD helicopter still circling. 3 different agencies that we understand, Culver City Police Department being the lead, then the LAPD, now the California Highway Patrol involved in this pursuit. Again, still trying to get information. Susan's on the scene to see exactly how badly damaged that individual on the scooter was injured as a result of this pursuit being struck. And again, they want to end this in a safe way so that nobody else is injured. I have not. I've seen a couple, too, and I believe that's only been once. So that definitely yeah, it was the luck of the draw in those situations. When you spin out a vehicle, you never know, depending upon the speed and exactly where that suspect's vehicle was struck, how it's going to end up facing, how other officers are positioned, and it just went the way of the suspect that he was able to do 180s, to pull away, to get away each and every time, despite the pit maneuvers themselves being successful, and that he was spun out, disabled briefly, but not enough that he wasn't able to continue on his way. And he is on his way southbound on the 405, now approaching the 605 freeway. Still in Long Beach, but coming up towards Los Alamitos. He's going to be entering the community of Los Alamitos any moment now. Once you get with a merge with the 605, and it's coming up right now. But now if he continues south, and he is, he's not making the transition. There's the flyway transition from the southbound side of the 405 to the north 605. He's continuing southbound. Now will enter Orange County, Seal Beach, then down towards Huntington Beach if he chooses to stay on the southbound side of the 405 freeway here. Right now, it looks like he's going pretty much the speed limit, maybe even a little below. You can see the other traffic are merging in, and they're likely going 65, 70 miles an hour. He's going a little bit below that. He's picked up a little bit of speed here, perhaps 50, 55 miles an hour, maybe 60. He's continuing southbound. That was the traffic overflow from the 605 freeway. That's what we saw a handful of vehicles get on the freeway. But as you can see, the CHP officers are doing their best to hold as much traffic back as possible to keep everybody else safe. Yeah. That's right. But, you know, when those failures to yield occur, a lot of times the people don't yield for a reason. You know, there may be a situation, perhaps this individual we're hearing possibly suffering from some sort of mental illness. That could factor in as to why he did not pull over when officers lit him up in Culver City and continued on his way. A lot more CHP officers getting into the mix now that we're entering Orange County. And what they're doing is they're really holding back traffic. Now, look at them. We got, how many do you count? 5 there now. 5 SUVs, CHP SUVs, trailing, holding traffic on the southbound side of the 405 back. We are now in Seal Beach, approaching the merge with the 22 freeway, coming out of Los Alamitos. He does have an option to get on the 22 freeway in an eastbound direction, heading towards Garden Grove. We'll see if that happens, but he's stayed the course thus far, just staying on the 405. He's had a lot of options. He's had the 105 freeway, then the 110 freeway, the 710, now just passing the 605, now approaching the 22 on the southbound side of the 405. All we can see trailing the older model maroon Honda being pursued here are CHP units at this time, with a lot of traffic being held back. But now looks like he could be picking up a little bit of speed here. There you can see the signs with the transition roads offering different opportunities for this suspect here. Again, a failure to yield suspect in Culver City, and hearing that once this pursuit started, after having left Culver City, making its way into the Playa del Rey area near or at the intersection of Manchester and Pershing, that an individual on a scooter was struck and injured. The extent of the injury is unknown at this time. But southbound side of the 405, let's see what happens here. If he stays the course, it looks like he's going to. He's going to stay on the 405, which would take him then next down into Huntington Beach. You can see the sign there down towards Irvine. You can connect with the 5 freeway and make your way all the way down towards San Diego if that's the choice of this suspect. All right. Yeah, that's what we were hearing, that it was close to or at the intersection of Manchester and Pershing. But we got confirmation there, so a lot of this information that we got initially is coming to truth. And that when we first started covering this, we heard that it was an individual on a scooter that was struck, and those scooters are getting. Hey. Wow, that's something else. So perhaps all that damage we saw may have been caused more by the scooter and not by the individual. We've seen, horrible auto versus pedestrian incidents where pedestrians are struck and killed, and we see damage to vehicles like we're seeing to this vehicle that's being pursued. So perhaps it was just a glancing blow, and the individual was able to exit the scooter before taking the full brunt of the scooter itself, getting the majority of the damage and causing the majority of the damage to that vehicle being pursued. You can see all those officers setting up shop at the on-ramps here to the South 405. They're trying to limit vehicular traffic. They're giving this guy space here. They know what they're dealing with now, because it does sound like some of the family members of this individual being pursued just for failing to yield, meaning that he was lit up perhaps just for some minor traffic incident, perhaps rolling through a stop sign or speeding, and just chose not to pull over. The pursuit was on, and that's when that incident incident occurred shortly thereafter, having exited Culver City into that area of Playa del Rey, and that's where the LAFD, that is LAFD jurisdiction, so that's why paramedics from the Los Angeles Fire Department responded to that person down, and that is good news, Marla and Vanessa, and that we're hearing non-life-threatening injuries. Okay. And the situation is, and as this information comes in so quickly as these pursuits evolve, it may be a situation that the pursuit was happening, vehicles were trying to move out of the way, get out of the way, and one of those vehicles that was trying to get out of the way may have struck the scooter, and then it turns into the scooter itself being struck by the suspect. Bottom line, that suspect's vehicle is badly damaged, so something hit it and caused that damage early on in the pursuit. So all that will be sorted out. We just hope for the best for that victim that was hit, that was riding a scooter in the Playa del Rey area. Southbound side of the 405, now heading towards Beach Boulevard into Huntington Beach, down towards Costa Mesa if the pursuit continues that far. Still very light volume, and a lot of that is the result of the California Highway Patrol holding traffic behind the pursuit, keeping all those vehicles back, keeping a safe distance. This pursuit being tracked by the California Highway Patrol on the ground. An LAPD helicopter was circling overhead for a time as well. I haven't seen him lately. We'll see if there is some air support here. If he had a break for fuel, I'm sure there will be another helicopter that will join in to watch this from above. And a lot of times what they do is they do let these pursuits sort of run their course as long as, at least at this stage, it's not dangerous. They back off a little bit. They keep the driver from getting too agitated. They can always track the pursuit from the air. It does appear that they know a bit about this suspect. They know about the vehicle, who it's registered to. So all that information comes into play. But the bottom line is, if there's ever a situation that this pursuit is going to endanger somebody innocent again, then they're going to be as aggressive as possible to bring it to an end. We've seen that before. Spike strips are possibilities. They could try to, slow traffic enough that they have that wide open cushion. But again, this is a wide stretch of the 405 freeway there with a carpool, and you have multiple lanes, and tossing a spike strip across all lanes, and the suspect not seeing that strip and actually riding over it. That's a bit of a crapshoot, but it has worked in the past, and that is an opportunity. And an opportunity for a pit maneuver still is there once there is enough of that cushion so that nobody else would be badly injured in the event that it went awry and other vehicles were close by. And we're not seeing that right now. And you can see the distance between that suspect and the lead CHP unit. It's a good cushion there. So they are tracking it on the ground. Is there a police ship up right now, Elijah? I'm talking to the pilot to see if we still have a police ship up right now. Okay, now it's a CHP helicopter that has joined in. CHP helicopter tracking this as well. We saw an LAPD helicopter for a while, and then I believe he pulled off. So now a CHP helicopter. So they are tracking it in the air, CHP, and they will continue to do so. And they can back off if they choose to, but they want to end this. They want to bring this individual into custody without anybody else being injured. Southbound 405 through Huntington Beach. It's going to be Costa Mesa. "45 miles down the 405 to Costa Mesa from Culver City. This pursuit to southbound side of the 405, approaching the South Coast Plaza down towards the 55. That's really good news from Susan. Again, we could have a badly injured young man, but in no way would they break down a scene like that if they thought, even if they suspected it could turn into a fatality. They would keep that investigation going. And I'm getting a lot of tweets. I can't see the scooter myself, but I'm aware of these scooters. The Swagtron electric scooter. That's the type of scooter that young man was on when he was struck near the intersection of Manchester and Pershing in Playa d'Or. Yeah, exactly. This is one you can, pick up at your local Walmart. Southbound side of the 405, we've seen no other incident since, or heard of any serious incident since that one that occurred during the start of this pursuit, shortly after it was initiated. And this pursuit's been going on now likely an hour and a half, or if not longer. Again, 45 plus miles now southbound on the 405. CHP units trailing. 55 freeway coming up. John Wayne Airport coming up. That will be on the right side of the 405 as we make our way into Orange County. It looks like the interchange of the 55, he's going to avoid that as well and just continue on his way south. This would take him down into Irvine, down towards the Y in El Toro, where the 5 and the 405 meet. That's where he could continue south on the 5 and make his way all the way through South Orange County, down through Mission Viejo, San Clemente, and possibly points south of that location. He is staying on that southbound side of the 405. Here is the interchange with the 55. So yet another freeway. He had the opportunity to change course, and he's chosen not to, continuing south. He certainly is. That's exactly right. You know, those miles in addition to the now probably closer to 50 miles that this pursuit has made its way just down the 405. We're transitioning now through the airspace at John Wayne Airport, crossing over to avoid all the commercial air traffic. And this suspect is continuing southbound in the middle lane. He's been staying in the middle lane for miles now, keeping a moderate speed, at or below the speed limit, and not driving recklessly. The only time we saw saw him, we visually saw him driving really erratically and recklessly was initially after those pit maneuvers. That is when that driver really was getting agitated. We'll push into the vehicle here. We can see definitely a male driver there. You can see that left back wheel is compromised. The back windshield is completely out. The front glass severely damaged by that scooter. That incident that occurred just after the pursuit was initiated, and it was initiated by the Culver City Police Department, if you're just joining us, just because of a simple failure to yield. They lit this individual up for some incident, some traffic-related violation. He chose not to pull over, and the pursuit was on, and it's on here in Orange County. Okay, and all of that helpful, very helpful to law enforcement, because they know what they're dealing with, and we've seen sort of the way that this pursuit has been handled over the last I would say 45 minutes or so, half an hour, change a bit. LAPD was on it. They were rapidly trying to bring it to an end with those aggressive pit maneuvers, but now we see a lot of space being given to the suspect here. Nothing too erratic, just tracking. That's right. And tracking from overhead with a Chp helicopter as well. And we're southbound on the 405 now into Irvine, 55, 60 miles an hour. Next opportunity for a freeway change would be the 5. He's going to run out of the 405, so he's either going to continue south and connect with the South 5, heading down towards South Orange County and perhaps down towards San Diego, or make a northbound trek on the 405 and come back towards LA County. Middle lane, you can see very little traffic. Absolutely. As long as they're on the freeways, they will continue on, and it doesn't look like he's exiting anytime soon. He's had multiple opportunities, not only to exit onto surface streets, but also to other freeways. He's left that comfort zone, at least what we believe is a comfort zone of where this pursuit started, perhaps a neighborhood he was familiar with. Perhaps he may even reside in the Culver City, the Westchester, the Inglewood, the Playa del Rey area, because that's where the pursuit stayed, on surface streets for some time. But finally, after those multiple pit maneuvers, he decided to get onto the 90 freeway near Slauson and make his way onto the South 405 and continue southbound to this point, now coming up on over 50 miles. Yeah, and it looks like he has rolled up that front window, the front door window there, so he doesn't have the option of looking outside, at least turning his head. And on the freeway, it's a bit more challenging. But you're right, he has a little bit of visibility, good glass on the far left side as he faces out, but the entire center of that windshield just badly damaged, cracked. You see the Honda emblem there on this older model, maroon Honda, being pursued by the California Highway Patrol, first being pursued by the Culver City Police Department. That's where the failure to yield began. Back up by LAPD, then by the CHP, and we're just tracking LAPD units southbound, or I'm sorry, CHP units southbound at this point. I'm not even seeing any LAPD units. In fact, the LAPD helicopter broke off a time ago, and it's even the LAPD that's tracking, or the CHP helicopter that's tracking from above. I mean, they've been a possibility already, but it takes a lot to get that into play. They have to essentially set up well ahead of where the pursuit is. An officer's got to pull off the side of the freeway, make sure there's enough traffic that has been moved well out of the pursuit realm, if you so to speak. And you can see that's what they've been trying to do. But then you just have this vehicular traffic getting on the freeways, on and off ramps, and that van's doing exactly what you should do in a situation like this, pulling slowly to the right, giving officers from the California Highway Patrol plenty of space. Never try to be a hero here. You just don't know what you're dealing with. This could be a very armed and dangerous, unstable individual with all pursuits. Anybody who's running from police you know, definitely somebody you have to worry about. So again, slow down, give the officers plenty of space, and that's what we've seen from up here in Skyfox. Let's widen out a little bit more, and we'll show you that traffic being held coming behind the pursuit and up ahead as well. I mean, you can almost count the vehicles. There's units back here holding traffic the best they can. We'll come back down towards the pursuit here. But back to the question about the spike strip. They have to have enough real estate between the vehicle being pursued and the officer that's positioning up ahead so that that officer can safely run out and deploy that spike strip across lanes. But this stretch of the 405 having been widened over recent years, the carpool lanes being added from LA County south into Orange County, it's a big wide stretch of roadway here, and it would be a bit challenging, and the officers would have to get a little bit of luck involved in order for that spike strip to be laid across all lanes with multiple spike strips and to disable the vehicle. Yeah, that's down in San Diego County. That's a ways to the south, but the South 5 coming up ahead. I will say that it is heavier. The traffic's much heavier on the southbound side of the 5, but as long as these officers do what they're doing from the California Highway Patrol, they're now the lead on this. They're holding traffic back enough just to give this guy plenty of space. He's not driving erratically. He's been staying in the middle lane of traffic. A real calm scene from up here, at least for now, that the tactics that they're using are working. Keeping everybody safe, keeping everybody at a safe distance. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, there's a lot that they could do, but I think time is on their side at this point, and that he's not driving too erratically. They've been able to get a little bit of information. We're hearing even from his wife, this male suspect being pursued. All of that's coming into play, making sure everybody is a safe distance away. And then when I say, you know, let it run its course, perhaps let it run out of gas, perhaps he'll just, you know, eventually give up. Perhaps there's some communication going on. We don't know if the suspect has a cell phone, and perhaps even talking to his wife as well, and she may be trying to convince him to pull over. There's a lot that could be going on there, and all of that could be coming into play in how these officers are handling it, because they're not being ultra aggressive with it. They're giving that space cushion. They're watching from above and on the ground here with these Chp SUVs. Southbound on the 405, we're going to be approaching the Y here shortly. It doesn't. And he just passed the 5 freeway, the merge with the 5. So now he is on the southbound side of the 5, just past the Y. We call it the El Toro Y, where the 405 and 5 meet down here in Orange County. We have another intersection of the 5 and 405 up in the far end of LA County, up in Silmar. And this is the southbound merge, and he is heading southbound, continuing southbound on the 5, which would take him into South Orange County, South County, perhaps even farther south, down towards Oceanside, into San Diego County. That's still miles away. But this pursuit, having covered a lot of real estate, initially covering just a very short area that was covered, but now heading south on this entire stretch of the 405 and now on the 5 freeway. Now down towards Laguna Hills on the southbound side of the 5 freeway here. This will take him eventually down towards San Clemente, Mission Viejo. And if he continues on all the way into San Diego County, again, fuel on in this vehicle that's being pursued. That's unclear how much gas he had when this pursuit started, but with every 10-minute, 15-minute period, you start to think about how much fuel he had, because this pursuit likely started shortly after 11 o'clock. So we're going on an hour and 45 minutes or so that this pursuit has been occurring here. 5 south heading towards the Laguna Hills, down towards then San Juan Capistrano and San Clemente. 56, 57 miles now this pursuit has made its way. on freeways, down the 405 and then on the 5. That doesn't include the meandering around the surface street areas. But quite the real estate here. Again, starting, if you're just tuning in, as an assault, I'm sorry, I'm going to correct that. That's what we initially heard, that was an assault with a deadly weapon suspect, but then we got confirmation that it was just a failure to yield, that this suspect, this male suspect, was lit up somewhere in Culver City for some sort of traffic violation. He did not pull over, and then the pursuit was on, and it primarily stayed on surface streets through Westchester, over towards Playa del Rey, the Westchester areas, and then finally he decided after those... Mission View. Certainly have. Now heading down towards into South Orange County, and this is the stretch of the 5 that will eventually wind its way towards the 73 toll road, and then towards San Juan Capistrano, and then towards Capistrano Beach, paralleling the Pacific Ocean. And looking up ahead to the south on the 5 freeway, seeing a similar traffic pattern, really light. You know, a lot of people still off for the holiday week, having the holiday fallen on a Tuesday. Still a lot of schools that are out, so the vehicular traffic has been down the last couple of days, even after the New Year's holiday, and we're seeing that on the 5 freeway. Southbound side of the 5 freeway here, coming through Mission Hills, now down towards the San Juan Capistrano area, moving at about 55, between 55 and 65 miles an hour, staying in that one middle lane. CHP units giving a nice space cushion, just a situation that we haven't seen change all that much in some time now. There's no question at all. But essentially, they're not doing anything dramatically at this point to bring it to an end. They're garnering as much information as they can about the suspect, and that's what we're hearing, that even his wife perhaps has been in touch with law enforcement. It's unclear if he has his cell phone on him, and we do know it's a male suspect. It doesn't appear that anybody else is inside that vehicle. If he's communicating with anybody, perhaps a loved one, perhaps his wife, that could be coming into play. And essentially they're just letting this play out based upon all that information they hear and what they're seeing right now. Now, if this changes and he starts getting more aggressive, he gets off the freeway, people start getting into a dangerous situation, innocent people, then as we've seen in the past, we will likely see a more dramatic, a more aggressive approach by the California Highway Patrol, who is the lead agency now here as we make our way south on the 5 freeway in Orange County, and we would see them try to bring it to an end. But at this point, they're just holding back, watching from above, keeping that space cushion from below, keeping as much vehicular traffic away as possible on the southbound side of the 5 now through Mission Viejo. Now 65 miles down the 405 and 5 freeways into South Orange County. We still got a little under an hour, I would say. So we still got plenty, and we're hoping to be able to track this all the way to its conclusion, and hopefully a safe conclusion. Unfortunately, the one young man in his 20s, was hit on that scooter. And, if he gets out of that okay, and it sounds like from what we're hearing with non-life-threatening injuries, he's got a story to tell based upon what Susan reported, that he was for a time hanging onto the vehicle and trying to, just do whatever he could, and then eventually came off. Oh yeah, absolutely. And he's got the gas to do it as well, and he's southbound side on the 5 freeway, just past the 73 toll road by Saddleback College, heading now down towards San Clemente. And those pit maneuvers, so dramatic they were. And again, a pit maneuver, it's an acronym for Pursuit Intervention Technique, and it's a situation that was developed by officers to try to disable vehicles by tapping them on either the back left or back right side of the vehicle, spinning those vehicles out, disabling them, and essentially getting those suspects to give up at that point, and we saw 4 of them. Exactly. I've seen a few situations where there's a partial one, and then another officer comes upon the situation right after that, and he does the final sack, so to speak, a partial pit and then a full pit. I've seen a couple where there have been 2 full that needed to be done. I've seen that once, I believe. And then besides that, that's it. Never before 4 separate pit maneuvers like that, and it was just the luck of it that they were able to this suspect was able to get away. The way that the car ended up and the way that the officers were positioned. The 4th and final one that we saw, the officers were out of their vehicles, guns drawn. We're hoping that suspect was going to give up, and he's actually forward rammed the vehicle, and then in doing so, his vehicle sort of backed away from the 1 CHP unit, which was making contact with the suspect's vehicle. He had enough space to make a 180 and head on his way, and that's what we saw. No. There you go. You see the units, the CHP units there, and they're doing a good job at making sure that traffic is held back. As we pan the camera to the right, let's see, there's more. There's a couple more units. So they're just doing a slow break here. They're not completely prohibiting southbound traffic from going through. They will, though. There's enough space there, so if something major happens up ahead at the pursuit, they can hold traffic and keep everybody back. But at this time, the way it's going, they don't want to inconvenience anybody more than they have to already, so they're letting traffic flow perhaps at about 40, 45 miles an hour down the 5 freeway, through Mission Viejo now, San Clemente, and then down towards San Onofre and into San Diego County. And we've seen motorists really do a good job at holding back, pulling over to the right, slowing down, giving officers plenty of space. Please, again, and I've mentioned that a number of times already. Go ahead. I did not see that. Did that just occur? Okay. Okay, well, we'll take a quick, tight look here at tires here, and it's continuing on its way now. And are you guys getting confirmation that it was a successful throw of the strip and the vehicle did make contact? Okay. Okay. You never know. I mean, that could be an option. Heading south on the 5. I mean, you just don't know what's going into the head of these suspects. All we know is that they want to get away from law enforcement. They want to stay out of custody. And again, we're hearing that this individual may have some mental issues back to his service for our country at this time. All that information these officers know, and they're taking that into consideration in how they play this out on the southbound side of the 5. Now, we are hearing that there was an attempt. We're hearing from up here there was an attempt at tossing one of the spike strips across the roadway here. But as I had indicated when I brought that point up, that it's such a wide stretch of the 5 and 405 freeway here down in South Orange County that it's a challenge for officers to get it to all the way across or multiple spike strips across so that the vehicle would have to encounter that strip. Well, the vehicle did not. The vehicle saw what was happening, the suspect, and was able to evade that strip and did not make impact with it. At least that's what we're hearing from up here in Skyfox as we make our way south into the Dana Point and San Clemente areas. And this is where the 5 comes up right along the coast as you start to make your way down towards San Diego. We're on the 5 freeway coming up towards the Dana Point area through San Juan Capistrano, heading south. Next community would be San Clemente. Again, traffic being... Gosh, we're probably a good 10 to 15 miles still north of that location, perhaps even more. I'm looking at where that is on my map too. We have to get through San Clemente, the San Onofre area as well. No, definitely. If you get the traffic to slow a little bit, I mean, all those options are open. And again, when I say they're just sort of letting this run its course or run through the process on the freeway, because he's not doing anything erratic at this point. They have options. They know a little bit more about the suspect. As long as he's not endangering anybody, they're keeping people far enough away from this. They're just going to kind of wait and see how this goes. And given an opportunity to bring it to an end safely, they will. At this point, well, they tried the spike strip. That was unsuccessful at this point. The pit maneuver, possibly, you know, if they have enough real estate between the vehicle being pursued and up ahead. There's no other vehicles up ahead. Behind, we know that the traffic's being held. But the problem is, too, is all these ramps, these on-ramps to the southbound side of the 5, they haven't been shut down entirely. Some of them we've seen units, but they have to get pre-position units at those ramps to prevent any more traffic from entering the freeway. And then he's got to reduce his speeds a bit. I give that 35-mile-an-hour speed threshold in terms of conducting a pit maneuver. That's not to say they can't try one when he is going 50 or 55 miles an hour, given the conditions, given a wide open freeway, no other foot or vehicular traffic around, and the only people that would be endangered, in addition to the suspect, would be the officer conducting that pit maneuver. Again, the pursuit intervention technique that we've seen play out so many times in these high speed and slow speed and moderate speed pursuits like this one from up here in Skyfox. But never before, at least I've never seen 4 separate pit maneuvers attempted, and the suspect was still able to evade police. 5 freeway southbound past Dana Point now into San Clemente. I can see San Clemente Pier up ahead, San Onofre Trestles, and up towards the San Onofre Power Plant and Camp Pendleton. Another spike strip right there. There's another spike strip. Let's tilt down and show it really quickly. There's the officer there. And again, see the size of the strip, and they position themselves. They throw it out, but there just isn't enough to cover that whole freeway. and it wasn't successful. He saw the first time that was attempted. You may have seen that time as well. So 2 spike strips, and they'll continue to try, because you never know. If he's off now to the right, yeah, perhaps they'll get an officer on the right. If they could get officers on both sides of the freeway here, on the left and right side, and simultaneously throw a couple across and not really give him much room to evade both of them, then looks like he's putting on his brakes at this point. Looks like from our vantage point, we saw a little brake light action, so we'll see what happens. It could be the sun reflecting off. Southbound side of the 5, again, past Dana Point, through Capistrano Beach, into San Clemente now. Quite the real estate this pursuit has covered. Now heading down towards San Diego County. Camp Pendleton, San Onofre Nuclear Power Plant. Oh yeah, and the felony hit and run, one of the most significant. Of course, initially the failure to yield, all the traffic violations could be totaled up as well. But since this vehicle, this male suspect, got on the freeway in the Culver City, Fox Hills area, 70 miles now from where we are now, it's been much like what you're seeing. Driving safe speeds in the middle lanes, 55, 60 miles an hour. The CHP's done a really good job at keeping traffic well away from the suspect, keeping everybody else safe. And again, now that this pursuit has been going on for the better part of 2 hours, that you do have to start considering more about how much gas, how much fuel this vehicle had when this pursuit started on surface streets in Culver City as a failure to yield, and then meandered in the neighborhood, Playa del Rey, where the incident occurred with the scooter. And again, that young man is going to have a harrowing story to tell, and we hope the best for him, but it does sound good so far. And then through the Fox Hills area, up through Inglewood, and then finally getting on the 405 South, down into Orange County and connecting with the 5, and now we're heading down towards San Diego County. the San Clemente Pier. Yes, he has passed. He just passed the pier. We're coming up down towards the very popular surf spots, Trestles, San Onofre, by the San Onofre power plant, and that's where he's going to be crossing the county line by Camp Pendleton into San Diego County, Oceanside, Vista. Yeah, that's exactly right. And as you can tell, that stretch of the freeway is much too wide for one strip to cover across all lanes of traffic. And it did appear, because the suspect did move over to the right, that he saw what was happening up ahead. So he even moved out of the middle lane there, more to the right, to avoid that second spike strip there. That's exactly right. There's a good assessment there. Another officer holding traffic from that on-ramp. They're continuing south, and we're going to make our way now past the San Onofre power plant here, the nuclear power plant, past Trestles and San Onofre, the popular surf spots, into San Diego County. And who knows where this suspect wants to end up. All we know is he doesn't want to end up in jail at this time, and he's trying to...
For White House officials to acknowledge the new leadership on Capitol Hill, it could certainly be a personnel announcement, which wouldn't surprise anyone in this room, because as you know, after the first couple of years, you tend to have a great deal of turnover. But without over-speculating, I think it's safest and smartest, quite frankly, to simply wait this out. We will find out together in a couple of minutes. I should add this. Given the government shutdown and given the ongoing negotiations between leaders here at the White House and those on Capitol Hill, it would not surprise me to hear Sarah Sanders, if she steps here to the podium shortly, to address that as well. But again, your guess is as good as mine is right now. Neil? Yes, he does. Yeah, they certainly have. I got to tell you, I asked the president a couple questions about that yesterday, and in fact, as we were leaving the cabinet meeting yesterday, I said, what are you going to do about those markets? And he said emphatically that he felt like they would be simply fine. He said, listen, we're working on a number of trade deals, Neil, as you and I have discussed on a number of occasions, and so the feeling here is once those deals get over the finish line, the market will respond. That said, given what's happening with the trade let's call it a dust-up with China. I don't want to call it a trade war necessarily, but given the ongoing trade dispute with China, we've seen what's happened to Apple today. I don't think there's any doubt that that's something he's keeping a very close eye on. Maybe they talk about that, although it's still anyone's guess. Neil?
It's not anybody else? Just Sarah, or Sarah and any guests?
You're more than welcome.
That is probably something intentional by the White House, because as we've heard from the president and his aides in recent days, they've been trying to say the Democrats didn't want to come to a compromise to reopen the government because Nancy Pelosi wanted to make sure she could secure.
Speeding, driving recklessly. The officers were doing whatever they can to try to bring it to an end because that's how the situation was. Now it's not like that. So now the officers are giving the space cushion. Ever since this suspect got on the 405 freeway up in Culver City, some 75, 80 miles away now, he's been driving at or below the speed limit in the middle lanes. They're giving him plenty of space and just giving this time, hopefully, to end safely. Looking up ahead, I can see the northbound 5 checkpoint, southbound 5 checkpoint. I'm not seeing that up off the helicopter. There's the southbound checkpoint, or the northbound checkpoint, I should say, coming up out of San Diego County towards San Onofre. Traffic really not delayed there. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Officers just threw out a spike strip there as well. Are they crossing all lanes there, or is it just the 2 left lanes? Just the 2 left lanes, and let's see what happens here. Maybe the officers will try. Well, he's staying in that left lane. Let's see what happens. Nope, he sees it. Oh no, they threw another one across. They pulled it. What they did was they pulled it. They had it in the far left lanes. Then as he was starting to make his way to the right, because he saw it, and he said, oh no, I got you guys. They pulled that spike strip. That vehicle definitely made impact with that spike strip, that 3rd spike strip. It appeared from our vantage point, it did. I mean, or it may have just, I mean, it looked like it hit the vehicle in some capacity, because what the, yeah, I mean, no, there's no question. I mean, but sometimes spike strips, may only disable one vehicle, and you see it continue on for a long time, and the vehicles go down to the wheels. So, I mean, again, maybe we can re-rack that and see what happened and play that as we've been playing as. Okay. 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 And if you didn't, yeah, it didn't. What happened if you didn't see it? I don't know what you guys saw or didn't see, but the spike strip was laid out in the left 2 lanes, as we've seen with the previous. That was the 3rd, or the previous 2. That was the 3rd attempt. They laid them out, and there was no traffic. The officer actually walked across the freeway and laid it out in the far left 2 lanes. Then that officer, with another officer, went to the right shoulder area, and as the vehicle, seeing the spike strip in the left 2 lanes, made his way over to the right 2 lanes, and as that was occurring and he was heading south towards that strip, the officers yanked the strip across the freeway so that it would cover those 2 right lanes, and it appeared that some sort of contact was made. Whether or not the wheels, the tires were damaged, that's unclear, but it does appear that it hit the vehicle in some capacity. But as of right now, as it continues on, if there was some sort of impact, the impact wasn't significant enough to any of the tires yet to disable the vehicle, at least from what we're seeing now. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to see the damage being done, and we start to see all of a sudden a wheel that the tire that goes completely out. But we're not seeing that. Continuing southbound on the southbound side of the 5 now into San Diego County. This is the area that's not developed south of Camp Pendleton as you make your way into northern San Diego County. So we're well south of San Clemente, south of the border of San Diego County and LA County. And the next border, we're talking about the Mexican border with the U.S. Down towards, and there's no way he would get beyond that point with the security and all that's down there, having crossed through that area a number of times on surf trips, as many of you at home may have as well. The next major Oceanside, still to the south of this location. He has a wide open freeway, unclear how much gas he has at this time. Okay. Oh, you do? They're back on our picture. All right, it looks like he's pulling over to the right. Look, he's slowing down to the right. He's pulling over, guys. Yes. Yeah, he's pulling off to the side of the freeway here, southbound side of the 5. Let's see what happens here. It's unclear. Sometimes, again, they just decide to pull over and give up. That happens. He could be running out of gas. That's a possibility. We haven't seen any, and it's difficult with the sun angle and the shadows, if there was any damage to any of the 4 tires as a result of that spike strip that was pulled across lanes on the southbound side of the 5. We're still well north of Oceanside in this real rural area here of northern San Diego County. Traffic now will be held. All southbound traffic on the 5 freeway. It will be a full break, and as you can see, officers are setting up here. And again, this doesn't mean this situation is over. It still could be perceived as a very dangerous situation. It's unclear if this suspect is armed at this point. They do have information on him, at least that's what we're hearing from the suspect's wife. Guns drawn, southbound side of the 5 freeway here, well north of Oceanside. This is a good probably 5 to 7 miles north of Oceanside Harbor. And as you can see, weapons drawn, non-lethal as well as lethal. And as we go back to the vehicle, let's see what's happening here. If he's deciding to give up, or he may just stay inside. We've seen situations like this where then it turns into a barricade situation, barricaded inside the vehicle, and some of these can last for hours. Southbound side of the 5, I'll tell you that though, traffic is stopped here. I'm trying to get a good ramp for you here of where this is occurring, but we're well into San Diego County now, north of Oceanside. Southbound. Yeah, that's exactly right. He's just staying inside the vehicle. Now officers are instructing him, if they haven't already, will instruct him to exit the vehicle, hands up. First showing his hands and arms outside of the driver's side door, but we just haven't seen that yet. And by now I'm sure he's been given those very strict instructions. So that hand. Okay, there's a hand up right there. We'll push in a little. Okay. So he did have his arms out for a time, and now let's see what he's doing. Is he opening up the door there? No. Looks like he rolled the window back up. So We're adjacent to the south, at the far south end of the Camp Pendleton base here, the Camp Pendleton Marine base here, and this is the stretch of the 5 freeway. There really is no development on either side of the 5. This is that really nice stretch of the 5 coming out of Orange County as you make your way down towards Oceanside, and it's the southbound side that's being impacted. All southbound traffic is blocked right now on the San Diego Freeway. This portion of the 5 freeway being called the San Diego Freeway. And officers, both with lethal and non-lethal weapons drawn. They still don't know what they're dealing with. Again, we have an individual, unfortunately, we're hearing reports possibly suffering from some sort of mental illness, possibly having served our country at one time. And now, initially, it did appear that he was going to try to give up, but now he's staying inside the vehicle. No, that was there already. Yeah. Let's widen out, and we'll show you the traffic now on the 5 freeway for folks coming south out of San Clemente, San Onofre, towards San Diego. This stretch of 5 can always be busy, and now, again, a full traffic break, meaning traffic has been stopped, obviously for the safety of these motorists as this unfolds down below. We'll go back to that vehicle that is stopped now off to the right. Unclear why the suspect decided to pull over. Was the vehicle disabled somewhat by the multiple pit maneuvers, by possibly making impact with that spike strip? That's unclear at this time. Running out of gas, or just saying, hey, I'm done, and pulling over. And now, even though he's pulled over, not choosing to abide by the officers, by the California Highway Patrol, who now is the lead agency. Initially, it was Culver City, that's where the pursuit started a couple of hours ago plus now, off of Camp Pendleton. That's exactly right. And they have to expect the worst in a situation like this. Yes, they have intel on him, we believe, from his wife, who called law enforcement, having seen this probably on one of the media reports, and gave all that information to officers. They have that. In situations like this, though, it could just be a waiting game. It looks like he's moving around a little bit, looking inside a bag of some sort inside the front of the vehicle. And in situations like this too, this has been a long pursuit. Hungry, maybe he has to use the restroom. There's a lot of things that come into play when these pursuits play out this long, and this has been a long one, running well over 2 hours now, a good 2 hours and 20 minutes or so from when that call came in about the young man on the scooter being hit and injured. We've seen that happen, and then we've seen the opposite. It just depends on the situation and on the agencies. There are some agencies, and I've seen this, where they're very aggressive. As soon as it comes to an end and you don't give up and they have a canine, they will rush that vehicle and pull that suspect out immediately. But other times they play it a little safer. They're more cautious, and we're seeing that now. We'll see what happens here. If they have access to a canine unit, that helps out, and that they could use that dog, which is an officer. Those dogs are highly trained officers. Okay, it looks like the front door is opening now. So let's see what happens. The door. Oh, now he shuts it again. So he's playing a little bit of cat and mouse here. He's done this a couple of times. Yeah, it looks like he's, it looks like he's going to surrender. Then he doesn't. He puts his hands out, shuts the door. Door opens again. So this is the Las Pulgas Road on and off ramp here. We're almost immediately over this stretch of the 5 freeway, and this is training. This is a training area for the Camp Pendleton base, both off the shore and in the hills here. And a large area. This base covers a large area of real estate. And this stretch of the 5 freeway, because of that, isn't developed. It's just a military installation. The southbound side of the 5 is backing up quickly as all of that southbound traffic is held before Las Pulgas Road, before you get into Oceanside here. Again, this suspect having been pursued for well over 2 hours, finally pulling over, whether or not it was because he started to run low on gas, his vehicle was disabled, or if he just got too tired and decided to break off to the right. And now this is just a sit and wait situation. Shut it. Yeah, close. Yeah, open and shut. And you can see the non-lethal and lethal weapons as we tilt up again. The colored weapons there, perhaps rubber bean bags or some sort of rubber bullets of some sort, and then lethal weaponry as well. They have to protect themselves. There's nobody in harm's way at this point, with the exception of those officers that tracked this suspect a good 85, 90 miles south down the 405 and 5 freeway to this point, just north of Oceanside in northern San Diego County, at the Camp Pendleton base here. All southbound traffic of the 5 freeway on the southbound side, only the southbound side. Northbound traffic is still moving. Let's widen out and confirm that. At Las Pulgas Road is blocked. Yeah, there's northbound traffic. You can see people hitting the brakes, a little looky-loo slowing here to see what's happening on the other side of the freeway. But if you are expecting someone coming north from the San Diego area up into Orange County and LA County, traffic at this point is open at this time. Again, just kind of a wait-and-see situation here on the 5 freeway. That's true. Yeah, that back window, we believe, was first damaged by striking that scooter. And then the hard impacts of those 4 separate pit maneuvers likely just released that glass in the back. So it is completely open. Not much visibility on the front side either here. And these have gone on and shut down freeways for hours in the past. We've seen suspects just sit there and wait it out. They're not in custody, and as long as they can delay that process, that's what they do. Again, this suspect may be dealing with some mental health issues, possibly serving our country, and came back with those issues because of his service to our nation. And we do know, though, he was driving erratically, very recklessly on surface streets through the Playa del Rey area, through Inglewood, Westchester. When it was on surface streets, that's when the pit maneuvers were attempted. LAPD being very aggressive, trying to bring the pursuit to an end after having struck that young man on a scooter. But once he hopped on the 405, the 90, right through the Fox Hills area, he traveled at or below speed limits. He did not make any erratic, dangerous lane changes, and they just waited it out. They tried to stop it when they got the opportunities. The CHP did with a couple of spike strips. We believe the second attempt, that spike strip made some sort of impact with the vehicle. That doesn't mean it damaged the vehicle enough to bring it to a stop. But the pursuit did pull over, and the suspect did pull over, and now it's just a waiting game. Waving his hand there. Yeah, he's waving something in the vehicle. It looks a little okay. Looks like now, perhaps, maybe. Door up, nope. Yeah, and then he shuts it back. We've seen that occur quite a bit. I haven't seen one. Again, that would be very helpful in a situation like this. You ask, do agencies rush vehicles once they pull over? Some agencies do right away, and a lot of agencies, if they do have a canine unit, it makes it an easier process because that dog, as it's moving towards a vehicle and getting into the face of a suspect, is a deterrent, and it will cause or at least expedite that process of a suspect giving up. We haven't seen that yet. We just don't know, and we are possibly dealing with somebody who has some mental health issues, which makes it an even more cumbersome situation in handling something like this. We've seen all too often in recent years as mental health becomes such a problem across our country, where there are incidents with officers dealing with individuals who are suffering and really are not in the right frame of mind and doing things they wouldn't do otherwise, and having to handle that and knowing what the right move is at the right time to bring this to an end and the suspect in custody is challenging. That's one of the most significant challenge these officers have as mental illness, that issue continues to grow in our country, not only here in Southern California. Let's count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 as we tilt up. Looks like an unmarked vehicle. 5. Another vehicle. Looks like that's a CHP vehicle, I believe, in the center divider that's setting up on the northbound side, or some sort of law enforcement. Oh, no, it's not. It looks like it's a media friend of ours from San Diego. Yes, from San Diego, coming north on the 5 freeway here, because this now is in San Diego County here, right near Camp Pendleton, north of Oceanside. It is growing rapidly. Yeah, I can see it on my real-time traffic system up here, the red lights, and then there it is, a live picture. Southbound side of the 5, coming away from San Onofre, just jammed all the way to this point at Las Pulgas Road here at Camp Pendleton, the base here. Yeah, as of right now, they are, and it's all dependent upon the officers what they think is safe, and at this point they're not too concerned with that northbound traffic still moving through. Again, unclear if the suspect is armed at this point, but that definitely has to be brought into consideration for the officers down below there. A number of units on scene here from the CHP in northern San Diego County, and this is a waiting game. You can see the officers, and they, some of them just starting to take more of a relaxed pose. There's officers that are still trailing weaponry on the suspect and his vehicle there, but they've seen this all too often as well, where this just continues on. It can continue on depending upon the individual you're dealing with for hours. We've seen freeways shut down for hours because of standoffs like this. Yeah, that's right, because it was Culver City, and Culver City stayed with it for some time, but once it got onto the freeway, that's CHP handle, and they called for the backup from the CHP, and we saw that handoff from first Culver City, then Culver City getting assistance from the Los Angeles Police Department, and then the California Highway Patrol joining in, and then now it's just the CHP that's handled this. On that trek southbound on the 405 from the Fox Hills, Culver City area, past LAX, down to Long Beach, Seal Beach into Orange County, past John Wayne Airport. He had many opportunities to transition onto other roadways in addition to just exiting the freeway onto surface streets, but he chose to stay the course southbound on the 405, ending up at the Y, connecting with the 5. This portion of Interstate 5, the San Diego Freeway, south out of Orange County into northern San Diego County. We're north of Oceanside here at Camp Pendleton near Las Pulgas Road, where the standoff continues. Yeah, that's amazing. And again, he's going to have quite the harrowing story because based upon witnesses reporting the incident that he was perhaps on top of the windshield or on the roof being drugged, possibly being run over, trying to get out of that situation safely. But now I believe you had reported that he was actually riding that scooter in the middle of traffic. It wasn't like he was, yeah. Yeah, and the pursuit had started just prior to that. It was very early on in the pursuit where when that incident occurred in the Playa del Rey area. So again, a situation like this, no areas need to be evacuated. We'll widen out. Let me show you. This is an area used for training from our brave Marines here in Southern California serving our nation, and this area is used for all sorts of training exercises, not only on the land portion, but at the coast as well, some aquatic type of training as well. So you can see that facility down below, all part of Camp Pendleton. No businesses, no structures, no residential areas, an undeveloped area on the 5 freeway, and this is the southbound side of the 5 where traffic continues to back up as you approach Las Pulgas Road, as you make your way down towards Oceanside, out of northern San Diego County, because of this now standoff. That's right, and we'll show you that backup now. Let me show you the backup on the 5. Traffic just stopped southbound. So if you know somebody who's planning to, or you're planning to travel out of Orange County southbound towards San Diego on this Thursday afternoon, this is what it looks like right now, and there really is no good alternate. You don't have Pacific Coast Highway here. You got to go well inland to make your way south. So as of right now, traffic not moving on the southbound side of the 5 as this standoff continues. Now what's happening down below, they're essentially looking at their options. They know, some information about this suspect, and given that, they're going to wait for a command from a lead officer, from a higher up in the CHP command, and see how they want to work this out. If they're just going to play it out and just give it time, which you see with barricaded suspects inside facilities. A lot of times they'll just say, hey, eventually that individual's going to want to give up. If not, then they throw in some tear gas. They bring in some dogs. At this point, I'm not seeing any canine units down below at this time. Those officers, those dogs that act so bravely. We are just seeing officers, a lot of them just sort of standing at ease. Others, the lead vehicle there, with a weapon still drawn, just in case, because again, we don't know if this individual is armed or not. And that information may have been given by the spouse of this suspect to officers. Oh, there is a dog. There's a dog right there. Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. So a dog has arrived on scene here. So we'll see. It looks like the dog is speaking to the trainer there. And these dogs are assigned an officer, and these dogs go home and are part of the family of that officer. And it's that canine officer, the human officer, that is the one that really gives the command to the actual canine in terms of what he wants done. And we may see that play out here. It's unclear if that will be utilized at this time, but we've seen situations where canines have actually been shot and killed in the line of duty in standoff barricaded situations like this. And obviously they want to keep this canine safe just like they would any other human officer, being that they are officers, and this is a way that they can try to bring these to an end. As of right now, it just appears that the dog handler is holding the dog. We'll go back to that canine unit as we look. We're really not seeing much in the way of movement inside the vehicle. We haven't seen the door open in some time. There you go, a better look at the pooch down below there. A Pucha will not be friendly if told to be aggressive, trained to do such. The California Highway Patrol, you see the 2 units. You still see weapons drawn in the lead vehicles there. A lot of officers standing back behind. And there's going to come a point where they're going to want to try something. And they are moving that dog around a little bit more. So let's see if they are getting ready to release the dog. And at times, the officers will roll up. The deal is that back windshield's open, and that dog is agile. Yeah, that back windshield is open, and I believe that there is enough room for that dog to make its way through the back, and they're trained to do that. They can hop up on hoods, on trunks, and do whatever to gain access. So it looks like. What's that?
Did you have a question for me earlier?
How many minutes? Yeah. Let's show the. Keep going. Tilt that. Right there. Oh, he's in traffic. Okay.
Elmo's right there. Push a little bit.
No. And that, and again, the windshield, just for everybody who know. Status quo, status quo. We haven't seen much movement from the suspect inside the vehicle for a time. We were seeing a lot of movement, the windows opening and closing, the doors as well. The K9 unit still down below there, guns still drawn. Southbound side of the 5 traffic at Las Pulsas Road still blocked. Looks like the window now is open now, so now he's unrolled the window. And again, if you are just joining, the windshield damage that you're seeing, that's not due to gunfire. It's due to the fact that this suspect, during the early stages of the pursuit, which started in Culver City, actually struck a man in his 20s on a scooter, and that's how that front windshield was damaged. The back glass had some minor damage, at least compared to the front at first, but then as a result of 4 really hard collisions, pit maneuvers by the Los Angeles Police Department when they were taking the lead on the pursuit, that essentially shattered the back window. So that back window is open. It is an option for that K9 unit to make its way in. As of right now, again, just a wait-and-see game here. They're going to let this play out as long as they can. Time is on their sides. They don't feel that anybody is in immediate danger. People up ahead will tilt the camera back to the backup, which continues to grow. It's miles and miles. That's the backup that Gino's trying to make his way through. As we push in, you can see all the people that have come out of their vehicles as well to check out to see what's going on. And obviously frustrated people walking up to the front there, the news media positioning themselves as well. And let me show you the backup. This is your ride on the southbound side of the 5, the San Diego Freeway, coming away from San Onofre down towards Oceanside. This location is north of Oceanside, near the Camp Pendleton base. Look at that backup, and it just continues to grow, and there is no alternate. This is not an area where Pacific Coast Highway nicely parallels the shoreline here in Southern California. You either have the 5 freeway here, or you have to go well inland away from Camp Pendleton. Camp Pendleton occupies a tremendous amount of real estate here in coastal San Diego County. That's typical with a standoff. That is definitely typical with a standoff. And they have those vehicles. They have those heavily armored vehicles that they can ride right up against an individual that's barricaded and essentially box he or she in, that vehicle in, and with that hard armor are protected. And they can look in and see what's going on. They can also use drones. We haven't seen a drone yet, but we are seeing drones being deployed much more frequently as well, whereas a drone can come up right up on the windshield or any part of the vehicle there, get a good look inside, or at least a look that may be able to provide some more information. Is he holding some sort of weapon in his lap? Is there something else in there that we're not aware of? Those drones are becoming important tools in law enforcement, and they may deploy one here as well. Unfortunately, we've been deployed because we are running very low on fuel here too, so our picture's going to start to pull out here as we're well down in northern San Diego County. No, I'm seeing something. I'm pointing out a possible aircraft, but it might be. Oh, they are, yeah.